Hello, hi, I'm Eddie Obeng, and I've got a treat for you. I want to share with you the change and project simulation which we built, which gives you 10 years worth of experience in 3 days. Why would you want that? Well, most people think I'll just build my capability and I'll learn a little bit at a time. That's great, but it takes you a long time and you make a lot of errors. The stats on change are a quarter of changes just fail, half of them are horrible, and about a quarter of them actually succeed. If you are in charge of an organization, you're a leader, you're an entrepreneur, and you're going to spend £100,000, what you've already decided is you're going to throw away 25,000. Why? I don't know. So if you think about 25,000 being thrown away, I'm paying 2.5 grand to have somebody who can lead this change and project successfully and perfectly the first time. It's a sort of no-brainer. And we can do that in 3 days because we've mapped out what tends to go wrong in change and project situations and strategy execution. And we've pulled out those key elements. And then by letting people work together collaboratively in trios, we let them understand, recognize those scenarios, and we give each of those scenarios and situations a tool, a people engagement tool, a possibility exploration tool, a performance enhancement tool. We call them PETs, and they can use that in real life. So with this simulation, we run the simulation over the 3 days, and in the background, people are applying it to their real life, as well as learning, they're applying. So let's jump on QUBE, and I'm going to show you how this particular simulation comes to life and what it does. So I promised you 10 years experience in 3 days. So what's the story? We have a 9-month simulation. 9 months is the duration of the story, but it's 3 days. But in reality, it's about 3 hours of working on the computer. It's set in an organization called Infotech Solutions. And in Infotech Solutions, what they have is they have a project where they're trying to create a new outcome. So it's a big strategic thing for them because they're replacing their current product. So let's have a look at what the purpose is. You understand what the storyline is. The purpose is to bring to life all the common challenges and to illustrate the need for new behaviors and tools, but also to give a shorthand. So when you see a scenario, realizing that the way the world works is not everything is different. Everything's very much the same. If you are thinking about a tree, the leaves look roughly the same. They're not exactly the same, but you say, oh, that's a leaf from an oak. That's a leaf from an ash. You can tell the difference. So we want people to be able to spot in real life change. I know this. This is when Carl couldn't write a report. I remember what we do, and just make life really easy for them. The key principles are they'll work in trios. Why? So it's a conversation. So they're applying it. So they have to think about it for real. Why? Because most other situations, you just learn it theoretically. You can never put it into practice because you never talked about it. We use the learning cycle to make sure people go through it. The tutors only offer mini hints. We let people do the stuff, fail, and then we show them how it could be done. And they keep notes and they laugh and they learn. The process is very straightforward. The 3 days, we start in a review cubicle. I'll show you that in a second. Then we go into individual cubicles. Then we come back to the review cubicle to understand what we've just done. Then overnight, they apply that to their real life. So the process itself is quite straightforward. The review cubicle, I've just got some pictures here. Then they work their way through on their own in their own offices. Then they go off and have the simulation. So it's a relatively straightforward process. So we are in the review cubicle. Let me step back and then you can have a look. So this is the room. There's a massive screen up here, and the simulation, after they've done it for themselves, remember they experience learning cycle, experience it, then we review it. So they will have done it, then we all do it together. And that's what this little poll here is about. Because we go through and go, if this is the situation, this is what we probably should have done. Do you agree? And then we have a conversation about it so people can put their perspectives in the big group. So the big group is really important because it kicks things off, but also it's the place where you wrap things up and make sure everyone's understood. So there's a big screen, there's a second screen if people want to talk. There are always floating penguins. Don't you always have floating penguins wherever you go? Wherever I go, there are always floating penguins. Don't ask me why. The penguins tend to do that. There's a big whiteboard here where they can review stuff. And then there are breakout areas so they can have meetings and discussions, and we can talk about the different elements of what they've actually covered. So it's all built in. And it's really straightforward, and you can work with any team from anywhere in the world at any stage. So let me take you to one of the simulation cubicles so that you see how the simulations run. Then we'll come back here and I'll explain what you learn. Okay, so let's jump across. So this is the project manager's simulation cubicle. This is the explanation where I've just taken you through. As you can see, there's a doorway back into where we've just been, which is the big review cubicle. I'm not going to go through that door because we've just come out of here. So it's easy for everyone to get back in. Most important room is the project manager's room. So if you come in, you'll see that there are 3 seats. Why? Because they work in trios. And on the screen is the same simulation, which we'll later review in the event. So this one here, for example, says Perfect Projects, month 1. First start activity is the mobile pets project manager is to develop a project plan. Until it's done, nothing else can be done. What do you want to do? So you see it's in green. That's because that's the one we highlighted. If we choose another one, it gives us another decision. But also we get emails, we get voicemails and so on from different people. Their salary expenses, their budget forecasts, it's all built in there. Now, what happens down here is that there are different things you can do. Like, for example, I'm not sure if I should develop this project plan. Let me go and listen to some gossip. So you can go and listen to gossip. So you go to the room where everyone's hanging out and you say, oh, let me go and talk to the people in operations. So you go up to them. When you click on their heads, they talk to you. 2 operators are complaining about the need for these mobile pets. You can see the yellow. So it tells you what people are saying. Okay, and then you get a sense of what's happening in the organization. So that would be how you would quite happily understand what people are doing. But maybe you want to have a meeting. So you want a meeting with your team. Don't worry, there's a meeting room. And you come to the meeting room and here are your team members, okay? And let's say, for example, you want to understand what Evelyn is thinking. Here you go. Evelyn says, I don't think we need planning. Call me when there's something to plan. Carl, on the other hand, says something along the lines of, just tell me what I need to do. I don't have time for planning. Bill says something along the lines of, I'd like to know the plan. So you already understand your team members are a bit strange in terms of their views of what they want to try and achieve. If you wanted to, you could go and try and talk to the executives because there is an executive suite. But of course, like all executives, sorry, my driving is terrible. Like all executives, they're in meetings. They're stuck behind a glass door. So you're not going to get very far with them. So let's go back and have a look at what we've got here. So we come in here. We've decided we've listened to the gossip. There might be some documents to look at. So the documents would be here, live documents. Maybe it tells you about stakeholders, maybe executives, maybe discussions you've had internally. And so now you're almost ready to go. As you start, we always let the team work out what they're going to do. So they have to agree their roles. We get them to work in 3 roles, 1 person to coordinate, 1 to write the notes, 1 to follow everything up. We insist they spin cast, otherwise 1 person does all the talking. Check out that pet, it's a really good one. The key pet is something called IS1. It's the decision-making pet. If you don't know that, you must learn it. It will change your life. And then we also make sure that they take note of their decisions, because when we get in the review, initially the tutor does the first couple of reviews, but after that, each team has to justify and explain their own decisions. So that's quite useful because now they have to go back to the big group and discuss. So what you'd come do is you'd come here, you'd probably start the clock, okay? You'd probably want to know what decisions you could make. So it says, decide to take no action. You could do that one. It says, oh, it's not necessary to do anything about this. Just carry on. You could say, talk to the core team members. We spoke to them briefly, but maybe some more consultations with them. And it tells you how long that would take, 13 hours. Hire a consultant. Oh, that would take a week. But you can pay them 8 hours of your time and develop with the core team. We're going to be sitting around working on this plan, 20 hours. So it explains to you what each of these options mean. These hours are tabbed up, and there is a calendar over here. And the calendar basically will tell you how many hours are left. It says 50. You can't quite see that. But the advantage is you can burn your 50 hours. You can go into overtime. If you go too far into overtime, you become ill and you have to take days off and the project runs late. So we've tried to make it as realistic as possible. So let's make a decision. Let's decide we haven't got time for this planning. We're going to hire a consultant. It gives you a chance to change your mind, obviously. And you say, no, I don't want to reconsider. I'm going to just go with that particular decision. So that's basically how you go about making decisions. I hope that's clear enough so that you can see how. Okay, so when the trio are together for an hour, they have time to think about all these things, to work their way through it, to try and understand what they're doing, and so on and so forth. And then when they've made the decision, as you can see, if we jump back on QUBE, the decision is gone. And there's another one. There's an email from Jack Walker. There's an email from Luther. So it just takes you through, and you have the clock ticking away saying 18 minutes left. And at the end of the month, any decisions you haven't made, the computer makes the decisions for you. They're never the best decisions because it's not AI. Actually, probably because it is AI. And you then move on to the next month. So you get 3 lots of 20 minutes to make your decisions. And then after that, you go back into the big room to review what you've done. So the review then, as I've described, is on the big screen. Everybody looks at it. They go through each decision. What did it happen? What did the gossip say? Just to review and reflect. And then at that point, we start to look at, well, what should we have done? The tutors give you hints and tips like, what type of change really was this? You're treating it as if it's painting by numbers, but it was probably a fog. Maybe that's why you should have talked to your team. They give you some ideas about what happens during a normal change where people have expectations. Everything's going to go in a straight line. But yeah, it takes a while to kick off. And therefore, there's an anxiety gap, the gap between what people expect and reality. And they talk about what's likely to happen as a result at each of those stages. And then after that, say after month 1, come the different tools. So in month 1, for example, one of the things you'll learn is something called the circle of inclusion. Check that pet out. But it's about how do you get a team to bond together? And then you discuss a little bit about what the challenges are and where the team is failing. And you capture this in your notes because in the evening, you'll do that on your real life project, your real life change. 5 Ps is about making sure you've got clarity on what's going on. So you might want, for example, want to talk about, well, what on earth do the different stakeholders think the objectives are at this early stage in the project? And then you might learn also something like is one, what are my options? It teaches you how to make decisions. And then the other thing which might come out of month 1 is one of the rules, which we call go slow to go fast. And you win the t-shirt. You know, you got the t-shirt, been on the course, got the t-shirt, go slow to go fast. And it's explaining how if you engage people and they're really engaged, they get on and do the work and everything goes faster. If you keep chasing them, you chase them forever and nothing happens. Month 2 is probably picking up something like fast, good, cheap. It's another pet. And you suddenly realize that all your stakeholders have got different interpretations of what the change success looks like and so on. Month 3 moves you on to start looking at things like how to catch up on late things. So can we catch up or not? Who knows? I don't know. Time reverse, great pet. At the end of month 3, you're then given your scores for the session. So if I try and explain the scores for the session, that's also quite useful. So first of all, let me hide everything which is where it says trio, because that will be quite helpful to hide so you don't have to think about that. And then also let me hide everything down here so we can go down one row at a time. That would also be great. Okay. So what we find is we basically give them the results in 2 groups. The soft stuff at the top, the hard stuff at the bottom. Soft is about people and stuff like that. Hard is about deliverables. So because we've worked together as a team and we've agreed what the most effective activity decisions should have been, one of the things which is helpful is that we can then decide on what the optimal score is, because we can see what the score is when we work together. So productivity, skills, team development, because maybe you decided to have the meeting together so everybody knows. Leadership, they didn't want to do it. You did it. It's the right thing to do. Cohesiveness, maybe the team are getting to know each other. Innovation, they had to think together. And these are the scores if you've done the simulation, run the simulation the most effective way. This is the sort of score you can get. On the other hand, because you're spending so much time perhaps planning, the management is saying, where is it? Anxiety gap. Where's everything? Okay. The client might be happy or not happy. Maybe they think you're too slow. The accountant might be complaining because you're spending all the money. Who knows? Okay. So that's what we'd have on the soft side. And then on the hard side, we pick up things like the product quality, whether you're running late and so on and so forth. So that would be the optical we all build together. And then we go through and we get the trios to understand what they've done. And there's always a wide range. And then we discuss, well, why -8? And they go, oh, it's because we did it. And they say, well, what does that mean in real life? And they move on to the next one, onto the next one, onto the next one. And slowly they begin to understand how their decision-making is influencing the outcomes. Because that's one of the hardest things in change. Because often people are only doing change once. So they can't build a pattern. And off this simulation, they begin to understand the pattern of success, perfect projects, and the patterns of failure. So that would be the score after the first quarter. And then they go home, they sleep on it, they work on it, they come back the next day, we tell them they're going to be leading the event, and then we go through month 4, month 5, and so on until we get to the end of month 9. And at month 9, we can then get people to look at all their scores. So they'll have, for example, their final score, which they've got, which might, for example, be this one here, where you can see all the scores. You might have the changes in the last month. You might have the delta over the whole thing. And again, you try and make sure that you've highlighted what people are doing. And at every single stage, there is a slogan. Never let a slogan replace your thinking is the last one. It's a bit of a joke, but as you work your way through the different whiteboards, you'll see that, different things to remember. Chunk it or junk it as a way of being able to understand. It's not over until the plan says it is, and so on. So each time there's a little stakeholder tip. If you're too busy, you must communicate. Getting some of those habits. Talk to your enemies because your friends already agree. So we're giving them T-shirts, which basically allow them to come into real life and operate. So that's really the simulation. Infotech Solutions helps you deliver perfect projects. You can sign on, but best of all, just either email or DM me or email Pentacle. It's about 2.5K plus VAT per person. You will never have to go on another change or project management course. You'll be able to deliver perfect projects. And most importantly, everyone aligned you is going to have a much better life, including you. So that's the change and project simulation. It's a really useful package. Let me know. If you've got a team of people, it works best, because remember, we want trios. We tend not to run too many open programs. So if you've got, say, 3 people you really want to develop, bring them on. We'll do it. It's on QUBE. You can be anywhere in the world, any time of the day, and we can still run the program for you. So I look forward to seeing you. I look forward to hearing from you. Easy to get hold of me. I'm on LinkedIn, or you can go to the Pentacle website, pentacle.thevbs.com, or you can go to ediobeng.com. All of them have got links to connect with me, and I'll set something up for you, and you'll be able to deliver perfect projects. Thank you.